Well, Raja, it was definitely a really emotional day here inside the Sangamon County courtroom as we awaited to see if this jury here in Sangamon County could do what an Adams County jury could not, and that's reach a verdict. And reach a verdict they did.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Curtis T. Lovelace, not guilty.
It only took them 2 hours and 20 minutes today to decide that Curtis Lovelace was not guilty of first-degree murder. As the verdict was read, Lovelace and his family broke down into tears as his friends and supporters cheered. We spoke to Lovelace after the verdict was read, and he said he's ready to move on with his life and says that faith helped him to keep pushing through.
You know, we went through this once, and we were hoping and praying, and it just didn't happen. And so. And there was a lot of pressure, and we just came back, and I don't know how I would have done it and how my family would have done it without Christine, and everyone stayed strong, and so it feels good. Very difficult 2.5 years, and we put our trust in God, and we put our trust in the legal system, and we weren't let down.
Defense attorney John Lovey says this was actually his first murder trial and says he knew the second that he met Curtis Lovelace in the Hancock County Jail that he was convinced he was wrongfully accused. Now, I also spoke to prosecutor Ed Parkinson and says that he's disappointed with the verdict, but adds that he has no plans to try Lovelace on any lesser charge.
She was a young woman, and she shouldn't have died so young. That's all I have.
I did also speak to Curtis Lovelace, and he says, as for some of those burning questions that some of you guys may have, as for what's next, Lovelace just told me he's going to take it one day at a time. In Springfield, Jenny Drasler, KHQA News.
From court outbursts to name-calling, the gloves came off in what has become a messy trial for Lovelace. KHQA's Jenny Drasler was in the courtroom all day and now joins us live in studio with more. Jenny?
Well, Raja and David, defense attorneys for Lovelace used words like crazy and vindictive today to describe his second wife, Erica Gomez. Judge Bob Hardwick ruled on over a dozen motions today, including one that would allow Erica Gomez to be involved in the upcoming trial. Hardwick said he will let a jury decide how alleged abuse in Lovelace's marriage to Gomez could shed some new light on the relationship between Lovelace and his first wife, Corey. Now, in a shocking turn of events, Curtis Lovelace himself took to the stand for the very first time today to talk about a laptop that may hold some important information in the trial. A ruling on that will be decided in just a few days, but we caught up with defense attorney John Lovey, who says he's disappointed that Gomez will be involved in this upcoming trial.
The state has a burden of putting on evidence to support their theory that he had something to do with her death. The state doesn't have any evidence because there is no evidence. So they're going to try to change the conversation and make allegations about Kurt from relationships with other people. And if anything, that just shows how thin the case is. There is no case.
Lovelace and his current wife, Christine, were at the hearing today. Afterwards, they were seen walking into a bar and grill near the courthouse. Now, obviously, it's still unclear if this is in any violation of his bond, which only allows Lovelace to leave his house to go to church and court. Now, an assistant for Judge Bob Hardwick told me directly that he will be looking into this matter. Lovelace is accused of killing his first wife, Corey, on Valentine's Day 2006. His second trial is still set to get underway, Raja and David, on February 27th in Sangamon County.
Thank you. Tonight, in 5 days, the trial of the Tri-States gets underway in Springfield, Illinois. Accused murderer Curtis Lovelace once again faces a jury to decide whether or not he killed his first wife on Valentine's Day 11 years ago.
In this KHQA exclusive report, our own Jenny Drasler speaks to Lovelace's oldest daughter, Lindsay, who not only lost her mother at the age of 12, but also says she feels like she's lost her whole family.
Remember more. Every day I wish I could remember more about that day, but I've apparently blocked it off with the trauma that came with losing a mother at such a young age.
Do you feel like you really have any answers yet, or is it still just you want to know what happened to your mom?
I've been asking that since I was 12 years old. No one just dies, and I don't know what happened to her or why. And I'll ask those questions for the rest of my life because at a young age, a child should never have to lose a parent.
Do you remember your dad telling you yes, you talked to Detective Baird. What do you remember about even that conversation, or do you remember at all?
I don't remember police being involved at all. I remember being in the principal's office and being told that she had died. I remember coming to my Grammy's house right after and having all my family here, and I remember going back to school. And that's literally all I remember from that time and the funeral. I made myself believe a story for years after years of seeing her and things like that. But when I was really asked to think about it and really asked to dig things up, nothing's there. Yes, I might have painted myself a picture to try to ease it, but no one ever asked me, what do you remember? They asked me in caring, as in, oh, I'm so sorry, not what actually happened. And when I really sat down and thought about it, it's a black hole, and it's scary and frustrating.
And I think probably one of the most impactful moments for me in that trial was after your brother got off the stand, you sobbed and walked out of the courtroom.
The first shock was seeing them and having them look so much older and me not being able to watch them grow up. The second part was I felt hatred, and I don't think it's towards me, but I can't protect them. I've grown up protecting them, and for once in my life I can't do that, and it makes me feel extremely helpless. I don't know why they haven't communicated with me. I don't know if they blame me for everything, which is not.
Why do you think they would blame you?
I know that there were rumors going around for a while that said that, and it's not true. I'm just as much as a victim in this as they are, and it's just hard. I just want this over with, and I just want my family to come back together as much as we possibly can, because not having a family is hard.
Now, something new with this trial is the expected testimony of Lovelace's second wife, Erica Gomez. Jenny asked Lindsay about her relationship with Gomez, and she said she had no relationship with her, so little of a relationship she didn't even know how long they were married. We have Jenny's extended interview with Lindsay right now on our website, including what she hopes will happen in this new trial. Just click on this story at KHQA.com. Rich, well, new in the Curtis Lovelace murder retrial, it was a very tense day in the courtroom in Sangamon County.
That's right. The jury got its first look at what's expected to be a very complex murder trial. Opening statements got underway today with the prosecution calling 7 witnesses. The prosecution will argue Curtis Lovelace suffocated Corey Lovelace with a pillow. Prosecutor David Robinson told jurors they will try to prove a motive and build their case around it, portraying Lovelace as a violent alcoholic and not the person his reputation would lead them to believe.
The defense is going to come up here and try to portray the defendant as a pillar of the community. He's a prosecutor. He's a football star. He's an adjunct professor at Quincy University. He's on the school board, for crying out loud. That's a facade.
The defense, on the other hand, will argue that Corey died suddenly of fatty liver and that her alcoholism and bulimia made matters worse. The defense also revealed new information in their case.
February 20th, 2017, 10 days ago, the defense learned for the first time that there is a trove of smoking gun communications, emails, that Detective Gibson had in his file that were improperly withheld from the defense, showing that there's no case.
Now, 2 of Curtis Lovelace's neighbors of 6 years took the stands today. They both testified that they heard yelling in the Lovelace household as long as they lived there.
Between 9 and 10 o'clock at night, Lindsay, their daughter, out on the front porch, pounding on the door, trying to get back in to the house.
He stepped into my face, had his finger in my face, and said, "Who are you to call the police on me? I don't care who it is. Don't lock a child on the front porch in the middle of winter."
Now, looking ahead, the 2 main witnesses in this trial, Erica Gomez and QPD Detective Adam Gibson, are set to take the stand Monday, with the prosecution resting its case by Tuesday morning.
The defense is going to come up here and try to portray the defendant as a pillar of the community. He's a prosecutor. He's a football star. He's an adjunct professor at Quincy University. He's on the school board, for crying out loud. That's a facade.
February 20th, 2017, 10 days ago, the defense learned for the first time that there is a trove of smoking gun communications, emails, that Detective Gibson had in his file that were improperly withheld from the defense, showing that there's no case.
This is not an accident. This is not a natural death. This is not a suicide. This is a homicide.
I don't know I didn't know his first name at the time. No, like I said, I was walking my dog and I seen something odd.
All right, but if it was 11 years ago, how do you know which house it was? You didn't even know Lovelace.
Do you know what a memory is? What was your question? Dude, I have severe anxiety, and you have it way up here at 11. So.
You don't like police officers, do you?
No.
You don't trust police officers?
Depends on your perspective of trust. I don't trust defense attorneys.
Heightened tensions fill the courtroom of the Curtis Lovelace murder retrial. Emotional testimonies shared by the victim's mother and other key witnesses. KHQA's Jenny Dreisler joins us now live in Springfield with more. Jenny?
Yeah, David, it was another very long and very emotional day today. We saw more outbursts and more fighting between the prosecution and the defense. And it all started off today with pathologist Dr. Scott Denton. He took the stand today for about 2 hours, and he says he does agree with testimony we heard yesterday that Corey's cause of death was suffocation. And we also learned some brand new evidence today that we hadn't been able to report before, that jurors took particular interest in, even visibly nodding their heads in agreement with Dr. Denton when he explained why he thought the original pathologist, Dr. Jessica Bowman, who performed Corey's autopsy, had botched numerous other autopsies before, including that of Quincy resident Linda Booth. Now, Denton persisted that for years he was asked to give second opinions on Dr. Bowman's autopsies and that he thought her work was shoddy.
She did the autopsy on that 2-year-old boy, Anakin Credit. She actually made up a tumor that did not exist, that you can't see with the naked eye. She determined the cause of death as undetermined, just like the first one of this bookend set in 2007, where she said this young man died of undetermined when he had a crushed larynx and a crushed neck, and he was assaulted and murdered.
Is that part of the reason you're done with Dr. Bowman?
I am done with Dr. Bowman.
Now, probably some of the most interesting testimony came today from Corey's mother, Marty Diedrichson, who took to the stand. She gave a pretty emotional testimony about the way that she found out her daughter Corey died, saying that Curtis showed up at her back door and told her, in a matter of fact, when dropping off her grandson Larson, and told her, quote, "Oh, by the way, Corey's dead." And coming up on Monday, we'll continue with Detective Jeff Baird on the stand. Also, we do expect to hear from those two key witnesses in this entire trial, Erica Gomez, Curtis's second wife, and Detective Adam Gibson, the detective who's responsible for bringing this entire case to where we are right now. Reporting live in Springfield, Jenny Dreisler, KHQA News.
Our top story tonight at 5, an intense day 4 of the Curtis Lovelace murder retrial.
Happening today, key witnesses and Quincy Police Officer Sergeant Jeff Baird takes the stand. KHQA's Jenny Dreisler joins us live outside the courthouse to break down today's testimony.
Yeah, Raja and David, it was a very slow-going day here for most of the day inside the Sangamon County Courthouse, with both the prosecution and the defense pretty much dissecting every single witness that got on the stand. Now, they began today actually resuming from where we left off on Friday with Detective Jeff Baird, who's now a sergeant with the Quincy Police Department. He was the 20th witness for the prosecution. Now, Baird testified that he did not believe Curtis Lovelace coached the kids in what they had to say. He also testified he only interviewed the 3 oldest Lovelace children. All 3 of them, Lindsay, Logan, and Lincoln, say that they remembered Corey being alive the day of Valentine's Day 2006. Prosecutor Ed Parkinson took issue with why Baird didn't interview the youngest son, Larson.
You didn't interview Larson Lovelace, correct?
Yes.
So why are you surprised that he remembers what happened on the day of his mother's death? Why are you surprised?
Because he appeared very young when I met him.
Now, Baird testified he was insulted at even the idea that he would have favored Lovelace during this investigation. He said it appeared Corey died from natural causes. Now, coming up tonight on KHQA News at 6, you'll hear from Erica Gomez, which is Lovelace's second wife, and that's testimony you definitely don't want to miss. Also, hear more from Dr. Jane Turter, who is a pathologist who agrees with the 2 previous pathologists before that Corey Lovelace was suffocated. Reporting live in Springfield, Jenny Dreisler, KHQA News.
He was poisoning me. My hair was falling out. There were white lines on my fingers. I was extremely sick. His parents knew that he was abusive. That's why they came and got him. His parents probably knew that he killed his first wife.
You also threatened you were going to take his kids away if he didn't do what you wanted, correct?
No, I just wanted to protect them. I didn't want them to be hurt.
I considered all of the factors, sir, and I made my conclusions based on those that were most compelling.
You're not saying to a medical certainty you can be positive it was suffocation and not those other things on the list. Right?
I am saying more likely than not, that's what Mrs. Lovelace died from.
Another day of lengthy testimony during day 5 of the Curtis Lovelace murder retrial. KHQA's Jenny Dreisler joins us live from Sangamon County to show you what transpired in the courtroom today. Jenny.
Yeah, Raja, Detective Adam Gibson from the Quincy Police Department took to the stand today in what would eventually be a very lengthy back and forth with defense attorney John Lovey. Now, we learned today about multiple email strings between Detective Adam Gibson and then Deputy Coroner Jim Keller, as well as between he and Dr. Denton, that he withheld. Now, the defense alleges Gibson didn't turn over evidence that could have helped Lovelace in his defense case.
You're supposed to give it to the state, and then the state gives it to Kurt, right?
Yes.
If this email was withheld, do you want to apologize for that?
It's something that I should have done, yes.
One of the emails we learned about today from Dr. Denton states to Detective Adam Gibson that the opinion of the original pathologist, Dr. Bowman, who said cause of death for Corey Lovelace was undetermined, trumps everything else and would be enough, in Denton's opinion, to prove reasonable doubt. Now, Gibson did stand his ground, saying that he does believe he conducted a thorough investigation, not what the defense alleges as a rogue investigation this entire time. Now, again, Detective Adam Gibson is expected to resume the stand tomorrow morning. At that point, prosecutor Ed Parkinson tells me he does believe that he can rest his case tomorrow. Then at that point, it'll be given over to the defense. A lot of people asking me, when do we expect to get this into the hands of jury? At this point, guys, I do not know. Could possibly be Friday into Monday. Reporting live in Springfield, Jenny Dreisler, KHQA News.
We were asked to not have contact with witnesses from the other side, and that's what we have adhered to, but Martha has not asked to see the boys either. It is unfortunately one of the biggest parts of the collateral damage due to what the state has brought.
She was going to make sure she ruined his life and ruined his military career, and that he was never going to be a lawyer again.
He had a motive. He wanted rid of her. She was an alcoholic. She yelled at him. She yelled at the kids. And that night he had enough. So if you don't have sufficient evidence of a homicide, how are they going to sit at that table and say they're going to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt it was a homicide? How are they going to persuade you beyond a reasonable doubt that somebody killed her if they couldn't even persuade the doctor who did the autopsy or the coroner who did the inquest?
Raja and David, I'm telling you, it was the biggest shock of this trial so far. Many people even audibly gasped when the defense called Curtis Lovelace to the stand today just after our lunch break. Now, we did know that Curtis Lovelace was listed as a potential witness in this trial. He wasn't called last trial, but this was the first time we have heard him talk at any length about what happened on Valentine's Day 2006. During his nearly 3-hour testimony, at times he was very emotional, even admitting that both he and Corey were alcoholics and that he wished there was more he could have done to help her. Lovelace also clarified that he and Marty, Corey's mother, jointly decided to cremate Corey's body. Lovelace at one point even apologized on the stand for the way that he told Marty that her daughter was dead. He also told both sides point blank he did not kill Corey Lovelace.
I could see her eyes were open, and she was very pale, and there was nothing there. Corey was dead. I just remember thinking that, you know, this can't be happening. She has to be alive. I told them multiple times that I had nothing to do with Corey's death.
All right. How long have you and your family had to live with this process?
It's been 2.5 years.
As you can see, they're obviously very emotional testimony coming from Curtis today. Logan Lovelace also took to the stand today. He's Curtis's third child with Corey, and he testified that he specifically remembers what happened on Valentine's Day 2006.
I remember my mom sitting on the steps watching us get ready for school, and right before I left, I asked my mom if I could stay home with her to take care of her, and she said no.
Lincoln Lovelace also took to the stand today earlier this morning, agreeing that he too remembered seeing his mother alive. So far, if you're taking count, 3 of the 4 Lovelace children have testified. Now, Lindsay Lovelace, the oldest daughter, has not been at this trial at all and tells me exclusively that she has no plans to be here. The jury will have to decide how much stock they put into Lovelace's surprise testimony today and ultimately decide, do they believe the prosecutor's pathologist or the defense's pathologist, along with Curtis's testimony, the kids' testimony, and the accounts of first responders. Now, we do expect closing arguments to happen sometime tomorrow morning, with jury deliberation getting underway after that. Reporting live in Springfield, Jenny Dreisler, KHQA News.